This is Ginger Catherines, our good friend from the Cloud Foundation. Come on over, Ginger. And she has plenty of experience to tell you about.
Yeah, really. Well, thanks everybody. Thank you for coming. Thank you for holding up the signs of healthy wild horses on our public lands, which is what we continue to see. 23 years ago, I never dreamt that I would be standing here in front of a hotel in Salt Lake City, and behind me would be a closed conference, invitation only, of people that hate wild horses and burros. And yet their task, as they stated, is to come up with solutions. Unfortunately, the solutions that we're looking at are not solutions that we would have anything to do with. Some of the organizations represented, besides politicians that hold negative opinions about wild horses and burros, are the Farm Bureau, the NRA, the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, etc., etc. There is no support of wild horses among these groups that are inside this building. And I think bottom line, wild horses don't belong to the NRA. They don't belong to the National Cattlemen's Beef Association or any of those organizations. Who do wild horses belong to? They belong to us. They belong to the American public. And yet the American public's voices are locked out. I serve on the BLM's National Wild Horse and Burro Advisory Board as their humane advisor. And I was not invited, nor were any people that have humane solutions. The truth has been locked out, and the agenda is clear. And some of the myths they perpetuate are that the wild horses are starving, and Simona mentioned that. Recently there was a roundup in southern Utah where Congressman Stewart says the horses are starving. I don't know whether any of you saw the video of the roundup of these horses. They were gorgeous, beautiful animals, running for their lives before a helicopter, but certainly not starving, and they certainly did not need to be removed. This is the case all over the country, and I have, or had, somebody stole my pictures. I have pictures from, yeah, okay, great, super, thank you so much. We have been on the ranges right now, right as we speak. I mean, today, Jeannie Nations is out in Nevada, and she's documenting wild horses on the ranges. Wild horses that likely will lose their freedom. Does this look like a wild horse that is starving? Jeannie took this picture on August 15th. This summer I spent quite a bit of time in an area called the Red Desert in central Wyoming. This was This was the first band of horses that we saw there. Do these horses look like they're starving? These are a beautiful band of guerrilla horses, a very Spanish herd in Kirk's Mountain, which is identified as being a Spanish colonial herd. Nearby in Green Mountain, do these horses look like they're starving? These are a family, again, a stallion and his mares and little one in Green Mountain. If these horses are slated for removal this fall, and if they are removed, they will leave one horse for every 1,000 acres. Wild horses are not overpopulated. They just came up with, BLM just came up with this number, 26,710, not 11, 710. And that's the number of horses that they would allow on our public lands in the West. Let me give you another example in Nevada. If the roundup takes place this fall, the appropriate management level, which we think is an inappropriate management level, would be 60 horses. Do you know how big Silver King is in Nevada? It is 600,000 acres. It would leave one horse for every 6,000 acres. So the myth of starvation, the myth of overpopulation. Wild horses live on only 11% of BLM lands. So there's another myth. Wouldn't you think they're overrunning the country? They're doing damage, trampling crops, overrunning small western communities? Nothing could be farther from the truth. They live on 32.6 million acres, 11% of BLM lands. This is a smokescreen in here, you guys, for the millions of head of privately owned livestock that are damaging our public lands on nearly 100% of BLM lands. But the horses must go. The helicopter contractors must be called in, and the massive roundups must begin. BLM commissioned a $1 million study, the National Academy of Sciences study. And in that study, they talk about something called compensatory reproduction. That means when your populations get low, your reproduction goes up. And that is what has happened on our ranges. BLM has managed these horses at non-genetically viable numbers of 150 to 200, underneath that genetic level. And the mares respond by what? They have more foals. So talk about $1 million misspent. So how do we turn this around? Simona and others have talked about solutions. We haven't talked about this solution. 22 million acres have been taken away from wild horses over the last few decades. 22 million acres. Let's put those short-term horses not in the ground, not dead with a bullet in their head, but back out on the lands that have been stolen from them. They are geldings and mares, so they are non-reproducing herds, so we're not going to have any growth, but they will get what they should have deserved, to live and die on the range. And that is why we support PZP, to limit births to the level of mortality. It works. Suzanne knows it works. Simona knows it works. And anybody who's ever been a darter knows it works. I'm a darter. Volunteers are willing to go out and dart these in consort with BLM. But BLM spends 0%. And if you look at our press kit that hopefully you got, in my book as an advisor on the BLM advisory board, I got the budget, the current budget that we're operating on right now. And do you know what percentage fertility control or on-the-range management gets in that budget? Any guesses? 0%. They spent $167,000 this fiscal year on fertility control. And where they spent that money? No roundups, 0 population growth in the Pryor Mountains where I documented Cloud throughout his entire life. 0 mortality, or mortality and the birth rate equal each other, no removals. No removals in the McCullough Peaks of Wyoming. No removals in the Spring Creek herd of southwestern Colorado. But $167,000 is not enough money to make a difference. And so they're looking for, inside this building, easy solutions. Easy solutions rather than the hard work of managing our wild horses and burros on the range. So there is a silver bullet in all this and a silver lining, and it's known as the American public. The American public does not want their wild horses mutilated, murdered, slaughtered, shot, or gunned down from helicopters. And the American public must speak up now, loud and clear. All of us have to call our congressional representatives and our senators every single day until the kind of agenda that these cruel people want is off the table forever. Thank you.